Okay, we're going to do the cliff notes of the life update. If you follow me on Instagram, you will already know all this, but basically, Jack got COVID. Then I got COVID. Now I'm still in isolation, but I'm feeling fine. Like, all the symptoms are past. I can taste things again. I can smell things again. Thank you, God. Things are okay. I feel very grateful, very lucky that it hasn't really affected me and Jack too badly. And so many friends have it, and it's quite scary at the moment, actually. And also, because people are asking, we have both had one jab of the Pfizer vaccine over 28 days ago now. So that probably played a role in making our symptoms so much easier to manage. So thank you, vaccine gods, as well, and the amazing people who built that, because we're feeling good. But yeah, I just wanted to give that quick update. I wanted to do a little vlog today. I wanted to go out and about for my next video, but alas, I am indoors. So I thought, you know what? I'll go back to a video I planned back in May, and we can do a bit of assumption answering. If you haven't heard of this style of video, there's the type of video that goes around on YouTube every so often. I saw Estee did it quite recently. I think Amelia Liana did it quite recently as well, where you ask your audience to share their assumptions about you and you answer kind of whether they're true or false. And a lot of the time I think it's really good for clearing stuff up that maybe people have often asked you, or you kind of reckon people are wondering. I mean, you find out what people are wondering because people don't hold back. Trust me on that. So I think it's a really nice opportunity sometimes. We can chat a bit more personally and a bit more in depth, but also you get to know a bit more about me. I actually did one of these videos maybe 3 or 4 years ago now. I will leave a link in one of the cards or in the description. That feels like a lifetime ago. I wonder how much I've changed since then. But yeah, if there is a specific thing that you maybe asked or you've been wondering about and you don't see it in this video, I might have addressed it in the previous one. Okay, right, so let me get my notion out. I won't lie, I'm slightly nervous about this video. I think these always like stir a bit of fear within me, just because I try and have stronger boundaries, I would say, with what I share and what I don't share online. Just because I used to really overshare when I was younger. Yeah, this kind of breaches that slightly, doesn't it? And it gets a bit more personal, a little bit more pokey and feeling aroundy. So the overwhelming assumption that came up is along the lines of, I'll read a few of them out. Your family own a lot of land. You're extremely middle class. You come from an upper middle class family. You went to private school. That's just 4 of many. I'm totally fine with chatting about this. It's a hard topic. It really interests me that in all of these videos that people do about assumptions, people in England specifically, and English viewers, are so interested in your class background. It's a huge thing. Everyone gets asked, and to some extent I do understand why. But yeah, let's chat about it. I'm pretty sure this was also the first thing I addressed in the previous assumptions video, but yeah, just to clarify it, I'm almost definitely repeating myself, but I would say I grew up in the middle of the middle class. Right in the middle. I think something that comes up personally for me is wanting to discuss the broader class discourse alongside some of this stuff, because I think everyone's understanding of what class is in Britain is very different. And I read a really interesting thing in Ortega's new book, which I will link or write somewhere, copy below. It's from a different study. The study basically says that class isn't just about wealth. It's about, one part of it is about wealth, one part of it is about who you know, and one part of it is about culturally where you sit. So those 3 things together make the building blocks for what class is for each individual family or household, and different communities, different parts of society. And I think that's something that's kind of neglected in like at least the class understanding and discussion that I see on YouTube. I see a lot of people understandably assume that a lot of YouTubers are really affluent, and I think that's fair, because a lot of the time you need to have a certain affluence to be able to start YouTube when you're 14, which is like what I did. But yet there's very little conversation of people transcending class, for example, or any of the relationship people have, especially 1st gen, 2nd gen, 3rd gen immigrants. Like, there's so much, it's so complicated basically, and yeah, I'm not really sure where I'm going with this. I just think that it's really hard to have a nuanced discussion around class on the internet, because there's so much emotion attached to it, and so many people have many feelings, especially about where their family came from and the struggles that their families have been through and how that relates to the class system. So a lot of people, for example, will be like, oh, my grandparents lived in a council flat, my mum lived on a council estate, grew up on a council estate. And I don't know if people know this, but like in the 70s, 50% of people lived in council houses. And so when you recontextualize that, sometimes it can mean very different things for very different like families. My family are great and lovely, as you know, I adore them. My dad was a programmer and my mum was a carer. And being honest, like someone put on here, oh, you had a crunchy childhood. And no, I did not have a crunchy childhood. But when TikTok was doing all those, like there were all these things about crunchy childhoods, which if you don't know is like people who go camping and hiking and eat granola bars, like that kind of childhood. I didn't really fit into a single category of anything people spoke about. Until I realised that I was literally the mainstream. Like I watched CBBC and CBeebies growing up and I ate Froobs. And I do understand why people draw some of the assumptions. Like for example, I'm quite well spoken and that's because of where I grew up, which is Tunbridge Wells. And I also went to a grammar school, which is a school where they basically bring you up to be like a 1950s like perfect girl. And there's obviously so much more to it, but basically you have to pass an exam to get in. It's academic capability based and you get a really high class, lovely education from it. But no, I didn't go to private school ever. I know people be like, I didn't go to private school, and then they went to private school when they were a kid. Like, no. I had a very, very lovely childhood. I was very fortunate. Oh, the other thing I was going to mention on this thing was we were talking about like those three kinds of capital, like financial capital, cultural capital, and like who you know. And I was really, really lucky in that my mum is an avid reader, so she would always get us books. Like we read so much when we were younger. My dad loved art and music, so like I got to do piano lessons when I was younger. We went to galleries all the time. Like I remember him taking us up to the Tate every year and we'd go see like, I remember seeing the Andy Warhol exhibition. It was the first exhibition I ever saw at the Tate Modern. It sticks in my mind so much. I must have been like 6 or 7. So in that sense, like the cultural capital side, we were so lucky. Like I feel so fortunate that my parents were like, here is like culture, like come and like read things and like absorb things and learn. Like learning was like the top priority for my family. Like they wanted me to do well, they wanted Rowan to do really well, and they wanted to give us like the best head start they could, and they did, and we're so grateful for that, like honestly. So we were incredibly culture rich. Like every part of our upbringing was like, you know, culture rich. Yeah. So yeah, I feel like I've pretty thoroughly answered that. I wish I'd kind of planned a bit more, but I think it's more important that it's authentic. I don't want to give like a scripted answer. In terms of my family owning a lot of land, they literally own the house they live in. And that's it. Maybe a final note on this. Tunbridge Wells is an area where there's lots of people who have had a very, very good start in life. And it definitely distorted my perception of what was normal slightly when I got to grammar school. And there was a lot of people who'd been through private education and done all this stuff. And it was just like quite, like I got a bit confused, I think, at that point. And I was like, who am I? I don't know. Maybe that gives you a bit of context into what my background was like, what my upbringing was like. Yeah, I feel I've just been very lucky. I've been really, really lucky on so many counts and wouldn't change it for the world. So the other two assumptions in this category, I think I've covered them, but just quickly. You went to private school? Nope, never. And I assume you were quite sheltered growing up and still learning to be with different kinds of people. I wouldn't say I was sheltered growing up, but I would say I was lucky to live somewhere safe, and you're still learning to be with different kinds of people. I don't really know what that means. I will say that Tunbridge Wells was very white and also very judgy. So, for example, no one came out during school. Like, we had a year of 150 girls. Everyone was closeted who was closeted. In that sense, yeah, like, I guess I'm still learning to be myself. And a lot of other people who went to school with me are still learning to be themselves. I wouldn't say I was particularly sheltered. Like, I went out, I did a lot of stuff while I was younger. I lived a lot of life as a teenager. My parents didn't shelter me at all. Like, they were just like, you need to learn, you need to make your mistakes, which I'm really grateful for now. Like, the first time I came home drunk, like drunk. I was 14 and we were at a family friend's house. So it was just like these 19-year-olds thought it'd be funny to get me drunk. So I come home, my parents are like hanging my head out the taxi window. Like, I was just vomiting everywhere. And I wake up in the morning in my knickers and my bra and a cardigan, and my mum just walks downstairs and she's like, well, you're not going to do that for a while, are you? I was like, no. You know, I didn't get told off. Like, the lesson was in the experience. The next category. Hello. You can answer some of these.
Hello. My assumption is that Lucy's a donut. You don't want to have kids until you're at least 30. Oh, it's an assumption. It's not like a question.
Yeah, no.
Yes. I assume you're thinking about marriage.
No.
You're unsure about marriage and kids. No, pretty sure.
Yeah.
The above addresses those, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is there any ones that I'd be better at answering than you? Some of these are well soft. You feel more yourself than ever before.
I know, right?
That feels like the end of an advert for like razors for women.
It's a weird one,
super
isn't it?
politically engaged, but cautious about sharing it online.
I got so many. That is misinformation. The marriage and children one, I'm just like, God, it's starting already. I think the important thing to say about that is everything is expensive. And
kids.
We are saving for a house. And a house is the priority. Then maybe we'll think about saving for a wedding. But I don't really want to get married now. I want to enjoy being young and dumb for a bit longer. I feel like when you marry, suddenly you're an adult.
You're doing great.
We pretty much answered the marriage and kids one, but everything's expensive. I think it's weird, like, when you're on the internet and you're in a relationship, obviously I get why people are excited. We only just moved in together, guys. Like, we are so fresh. Everything is so new and so exciting, and we've got so much time. Like, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this online, but Jack's 25 and I'm 26. I'm a cougar. And so, like, we've already been together. Like, this is our 4-year anniversary coming up next month. And we just have time. Like, I don't want to rush anything. My parents were together for 9 years before they got married, and another 9 years before they had us. And they are still together and loving life. So I see them as very inspirational in how to do a relationship. I'm not saying I'm going to follow the exact same trajectory, but it's nice to take your time and have things to look forward to. And also to have money. I don't want to be spending all my money on a party that's mainly for other people, although I will love every second of it, and babbies. I want a nice house and nice holidays for a little while at least, and to just make the most of my freedom, my independence, and Jack's freedom and Jack's independence as well. Jack wants to do a ski season at some point, and I'm so like, you fucking go for it. I want there to be that freedom that we feel that we can go and do those things and have disposable income to be able to do those things. And careers, like, obviously I want to be at a place in my job where I feel 10 out of 10 and I want to give 100% to my job, whatever my job may be. Speaking of which, we are on to the YouTube and work life chat. These are all the assumptions about anything to do with YouTube or hours or work. Speaking of which, there is an announcement coming very soon about a project I'm doing. Something I've been working on for a very long time. It's finally launching. It's called Hours London, and if you would like to know more, there's a link below. You can be the first to know. Oh, I'm so excited. So there's quite a few around work fulfillment and YouTube fulfillment. So I'll read some of those out. You don't find your job fulfilling given your other interests, e.g. the subject of your degree. You wish you'd picked a different career. You sometimes wish you hadn't decided to dedicate yourself to a career on YouTube as you get older. These are a hard one to answer because I think I cycle between absolutely loving being a YouTuber full-time and then thinking, what on earth was I doing being a YouTuber full-time? And that's not because I don't like YouTube. Something that I think we're probably going to have more discussions about over time, which started originally with the burnout conversation around YouTube and burnout, which I think probably we had in like 2018, 2019. I know Elle really kicked off a lot of that conversation, as did Casey Neistat. There is a reason that full-time creators burn out a lot and feel very unfulfilled and really struggle. And I think we also see this at the moment in a lot of dialogue around Emma Chamberlain, and like, she's bought this gorgeous house, she lives in this mansion in LA, and just seems hopelessly depressed in all her videos. And you're thinking, how can someone with the perfect job and so much money, how can you be depressed? Basically, I think it's human, the way the human brain works, and I think it is the instability. I think that level of dependence for your income and your lifestyle, and sometimes even your friends and your relationships and your work relationships, all dependent on other people's approval of you, is not good for you. To put it politely, I don't think it's good for you. And everything that is built into the tools we use when I log on to like YouTube, to the creator studio, which is where I see how my videos are doing, the first thing I am shown, the first thing is whether I have a big like thumbs up kind of thing where I've either grown and done better than I did the previous month, or I do a big, like, it's a down, it's like a woo in bright red if you're doing worse than you were. You could have gained 6,000 subscribers the month before and then 5,000 this month, and the app will still be like, you're doing badly, do better. And stuff like that is constantly affecting people's mindset and just their lives. So now you might notice there's a new generation of creators who are, instead of making it their full-time job, making it a part of their work, maybe a supplementary income, or starting businesses that are alongside YouTube, or just staying in part-time and having part-time work otherwise. They're avoiding starting businesses that rely on their name to get the product out there. They're generally staying within like a skill set, you know, they're building their skill set to something else that they do 3 days a week. And from what I've seen, those people are much happier than the ones who made it their full-time job. And in some ways, I wish I had the beauty of hindsight and I could go back and get a part-time role as well as doing YouTube, or build my career in maybe a slightly different way. But I have loved being a creator, and I love being a creator. I'm so grateful that I can do this and make good money. I really love my job, and I think a big part of me continuing to love it is to diversify what I'm actually doing, to change up, to try and be fresher and like move more with the times. Obviously trying to start a short form video, lol, at my life. Hopefully I can make something that you actually enjoy. Yeah, and also starting new projects like ours, what I'm working on at the moment, and having more dependable sources of revenue as well. And it not just being about how many people like me. And I think that is the main thing. This is more just a broader comment on the creator economy in general, because it's not going anywhere, guys. Like, we want to be creators. It's such a good job, but a lot of the time you have to understand that it goes like this, and really to be able to go like this more steadily, or like this, which is fine too, fine to plateau if you're still making money and you've still got a dedicated audience. But yeah, the discussion around that now needs to be like, how do we make this healthy for people? And I think one of the big ways is making sure you can be financially secure without it, and that you get purpose without it as well. Like, so that's mainly, I would say, the thing that worries me the most is, if I stopped this, where does my purpose come from? So this is a really roundabout way of saying I have no plans to stop making YouTube videos or stop being a creator. For as long as I enjoy it, I will be making videos. So sorry, you can't get rid of me. Not that fast. It may not always be my work, but right now it is, and I don't really see that ending anytime soon. I feel like I've got so much growing to do. I've got so much I still want to show you, so much like cool shit I want to make. So while that's all still happening, you're stuck with me. I assume you cringe at your old videos from 2016 to 2018. I think everyone cringes at their past self. I look at photos of me when I was younger and I'm a bit like, ooh, or like I see clips of me and I'm like, ooh. But I'm not embarrassed of that person, because that person was so cool and so good, and she did so much good shit, and she grew, and she was learning about herself, and she was in such an important stage of her life. I don't know if you guys have the pattern, but I just downloaded the pattern. And I went back, you can see what your pattern was back in the day. I looked at 2016 to 2017 and it was like, you are going through a life shift. And I sure was. And I think you can tell, like, I was going through a lot at that time. And I'm really proud of myself that I built a job out of that, and like I built success out of it. I'm not the same person I was, but I like her. She's good. Oh my god, we still got so many more of these. My throat is going, so I need to chill. Someone says, I assume you feel frustrated with YouTube and where your channel is at. No, I used to, but this year's actually been really good for me. Like, I've been smashing it, in my opinion. And I'm really happy with how my channel's going. I'm really happy with how I'm progressing as well as a person, which unfortunately is very tied to my channel. Yeah, I'm in a big stage of preparation for growth, I think. I definitely sense that 27 is going to hold some things for me. I don't know. Is that too spiritual? There's nothing planned, for the record, but I just feel like during that first half of this year, there was a lot going on in my head, and now I have a much stronger sense of not necessarily my purpose, but my guiding light. Not necessarily in a tangible way, but like my mission, I guess. And now it's just about aligning what I'm doing with my mission. Sorry, this has all become about identity, but my channel is so tied to my identity. Okay, there were quite a few questions about music. Someone said, this is just 2 of them. You aspired to be a songwriter in the past, but not anymore. And you really enjoy making music, but have decided to do it for yourself rather than for YouTube. You'd love to create a mixtape or an EP, but are unsure of releasing it publicly. I am finally getting to grips with Logic. I am practicing. I'm trying to learn how to use it. I have my mic out. I learned how to record and like mix some vocals the other day, which was so exciting. I say mix vocals. It wasn't. It was just like compressing them and fun shit. I'm still learning, and I'm really enjoying learning. But the learning process has sucked a lot of the like creativity out of it. And also, being completely honest, this year and a half has been really hard to create in, because in terms of music, because I'm a very private person. I'm very shy. My fucking Scorpio moon though is alive and well. Like, I have, I think, under the surface, like, I'm very emotional. I want to put that all into creativity, especially into writing and songs, because I love doing that, and poetry and all of that. But because I've been around people 24/7, people I love and people I'm very close to, I still don't really feel comfortable, like, you know, just sitting down and having a sing. Like, it doesn't really sit that well with me. So I'm just shy. I'm just really shy, basically, about it all. I need to build my confidence. And so I'm actually quite excited for Jack to go back to work, which I think will be in like September, October time, because it'll mean I'll be able to build on that side of what I do and like really unleash my creative juices. So right now I'm in a period of learning, a period of like really trying to learn the software and just give it a go, you know. But yeah, I have written some songs this year, and I like 2 of them quite a lot, but I just need to like make some demos and just enjoy it. Like, I don't think I'm ever going to be a songwriter professionally. That would be my dream, but I haven't been doing it for like 3 years now properly, so I need to either do it or not do it. It doesn't matter whether it becomes part of my job. It gives me purpose, it gives me creative outlet, and it gives me fulfillment personally, and that's more than enough for me. Maybe if I make something I really like, I'll put it out, but yeah, I love making music. It's like the best thing in the world. And finally, on stuff to do with like YouTube and work life, you would love to do a master's. And you know what? I would, but I don't think it's where I want to put my money right now, which is a real shame. I think maybe, you know, when like you've got a holiday, you're like, oh, I'd always love to do that holiday, it's my dream holiday, and then it doesn't click for like a while, like you don't necessarily have the drive to do it, and then something just clicks one day and you're like, yeah, now's the time. You just suddenly have that burning desire to do it. I think that will probably happen in the next 10 years. Now, let's do some personal ones that don't fit into other categories. There was something that came up quite a lot, like a lot, which is you care a lot about what other people think. And I really understand why people assume that about me. You care about staying on trend. I assume you're a bit of a people pleaser, or you're worried about people being disappointed in you. I used to. I would say this is something I'm actively unlearning. I'm well within the process of stopping caring. And I've come a long way, but it's only been the past 2 years or so where I've really noticed a lot of progress. I think maybe the internet distorts it slightly, because by far the most pressure I feel to be liked is on the internet, whereas I feel that much less in real life. But you guys obviously don't really see me in real life unless you run into me. And so, yeah, I guess the only way you see it is me being like, trying to make sure I'm being careful with what I say and being selective with what I share. And the reason I do that is because I want everything to feel thoughtful, and I want people to know that I'm not just sharing random shit, and I want people on the internet to all be more like that. I want everyone to be more thoughtful. And so I try and lead by example. That's me, a leader. People think I'm like really heavily curated or really trying to heavily curate what I do, which isn't the intention. I just would rather that everyone thought about what's going online, you know? And so I try and think and be a bit more careful about what I put online. I think people also think this because, like, for example, on Instagram, let's say I share like an infographic about something that I'm concerned about that's happening in the world right now. And then someone messages me and they're like, oh, hey, Luce, just so you know, like, there's 2 sides to this. Like, it's a bit more nuanced than you think. And then I take it down. People assume that I'm pandering, whereas I'm just trying to be as conscientious as possible and make sure I'm sharing correct information and make sure I'm not jumping in without knowing enough. A lot of the time it's just because I want to make sure I'm sharing good, accurate information, or I'm sharing an opinion I can truly stand by. It was 2018 or 2019. In the January of that year, I just said to myself, this is the year where you shut your mouth. Like, you stop running your mouth about things you don't understand. And ever since then, I've tried to do that. And it has made the world of difference to my mental health. But also, like, I don't need to participate in every discussion happening on the internet. I don't need to share my opinion on everything. I have opinions on everything, but they don't need to hit the internet and be preserved forever in this, like, 140 character state. That's just not worth it. Like, who am I trying to please by doing that? I just keep it to myself or chat about it with my mates. And I find that much more fulfilling. Not everything has to be performed and presented on the internet. I will say that. Okay, we've only got a few more, I promise. We're nearly done. Someone assumes you feel more yourself than ever before. I feel more sure that I know the direction I'm going in. I wouldn't say I'm at like any kind of actualization yet. I don't think I'm like this is my perfect form, this is how I am, but I'm on that journey and I can fucking feel it. I feel more myself than ever before, but not because I'm at an end point. I got a lot of this, which is, you're not overly friendly in person, you intimidate people, you're not very friendly when people meet you. And I would actually say that that's completely the opposite. I don't know if you've ever bumped into me in person, but I fucking love a chat. Like, I'm just like, oh my god, hey! Whenever I'm at work events or like YouTube events or like anything, I just want to chat to everyone. I'm like, people are always like, we come to a party with you and we never see you again. You're talking to everyone at the party. I just love chatting to new people. I love learning about where they're from, like what they do, like their opinions on stuff. Just hearing people's cool stories. I just think it's so cool. So yeah, hopefully I'm not intimidating. I don't think I come across as intimidating at all in person, and I am the chattiest woman. I'm so chatty. You regret being so open about your alcohol journey online. I don't regret making the video originally. I think it helped so many people. So while I kind of was embarrassed by it, now I'm completely at peace with it. Like, I'm really glad I made it and it helped so many people. I felt like I was one of the only people talking about not drinking as a young woman in England. I hadn't, even in the world, I hadn't seen it. I would never make that video now. Everyone, share your scars, not your wounds. But I'm at peace with it. The rest of the journey, I think it's important to share. I'm not sober. I'm going to make a 5-year update actually to that video in November. There's such an ongoing, intense narrative internationally, but especially in the UK, about drinking. And it's just so normalised. And I think it's important that I'm as honest as I can be about the fact that not everyone finds that easy. This, by the way, is just a fizzy water. I feel like people have been watching me drink it and they'll be like, what is that? It's just, it's a seltzer with raspberry. I get a lot of shit for talking about alcohol and still drinking, and I completely understand why, because it is hypocritical. But quitting anything is incredibly tough, let alone when it's in every place you go, every dinner, every pub, every gig, every celebration is associated with it. I just at the moment I would find it so hard right now, and so at the moment my focus is just slowing down how much I drink and just being mindful and trying to drink as little as I feel I can at any given point in my life. Yeah, and I can deal with people criticizing me for it, because I know in my heart that if I didn't have a problem with it, my life would be so much easier. Believe me, I would not be putting myself in the lion's den for 5 years of talking about this if I didn't have a problem with it, because it's the most rubbish thing to attention seek with. And finally, I got quite a few assumptions about my political stance or my political opinions. A lot of people saying I'm a champagne socialist. Effectively, they use like different words for it, but like champagne socialist, or like if I'm centre left or whatever, where I would be on the American political scale. Yeah, I think I'm pretty open about it. A lot of people, and also obviously people being like, you're a secret Tory. No. When I was in uni, I used to work for a great non-profit that encouraged young people to vote, and that's basically, that kind of attitude is what you will see of me online. I, at this point, am not going to try and tell you who to vote for, because I don't think that's appropriate, but I am going to bloody tell you to vote, and nothing makes me more frustrated than when people don't vote. It's the easiest thing that you can do to participate in democracy, and at the moment at least, obviously we don't need ID checks or anything like that. All you have to do is register to vote and then show up on the day. Obviously I understand if you didn't necessarily have like any education about voting when you're younger, and then, I just want to encourage people to vote. But if you're someone who thinks like, oh, it makes me edgy like to not vote, I'm just rubs me up the wrong way. I'm happy to share about my political views, because I'm not telling you what to do. This is just my opinion. I'm probably socialist. I would say the person I was most politically aligned with in the past decade is Jeremy Corbyn. When I first voted for Jeremy Corbyn, because I was in his constituency in 2014, his voting record was pretty much to the letter exactly what I would have voted on in Parliament. It represented my views almost exactly as when he was a backbencher. I'm quite disappointed in Labour at the moment, obviously, because it's been an absolute mess, and I think the Tories probably have another 10 years in power, which is terrible. And I think one of the things that will really change the game is whoever acts first on carers. My sister's been a carer this past year, and my mum was a carer. It's an industry that is desperately needed but dying. It needs to be reformed really urgently, and I genuinely think whoever and hopefully Labour will be the people to try and propose a large reform to make care work something desirable, because no one wants to be a carer because you're paid basically under minimum wage when you consider travel times. And it's really hard. I just think we need some new ideas, basically, because a lot of what's being presented by Labour at the moment is rehashed ideas that are actually, like, so much has changed within 10 years. Like, so much has changed. Basically, I'm a disappointed Labour voter. Maybe that's, like, where we leave it. Just because I think the Tories are going to be in power for another 10 years doesn't mean I'm not going to fight it every step of the way. Right, on that note... That got really existential. Right, I'm gonna go. I've been filming for over an hour. I am tired. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like and please subscribe if you're new around here. Hit the notification bell if you're not. Get notified when I make videos, because I say it's every Saturday, but is it? So yeah, make sure you don't miss out on any, and I'm also gonna start live streaming soon. So we're gonna get some of those too. Thank you so much, and I will see you in my next video.